Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah,
We will get that fixed.
they probably moving them because of the windows.
Probably. Madam Clerk, when you're ready, can you please do the roll call for this evening?
Councilwoman Melly Garthwaite.
Millie Garthwaite, Council at Large, present.
Councilman Brian Locks is absent.
Councilwoman Ann Heffernan, 1st District, present.
Councilwoman Michelle Coletti.
Councilwoman Michelle Coletti, 2nd District, present.
Councilwoman Sarah Akbarali.
Councilwoman Sarah Akbarali, 3rd District, present.
Councilman Gary Donovan.
Councilman Gary Donovan, 4th District, present.
Councilman Edward McMillan is absent. Councilwoman Dawn Callahan.
Councilwoman Dawn Callahan, 6th District, present.
Councilwoman Catherine Tucker.
Councilwoman Catherine Tucker, 7th District, present.
Councilman Christopher Vargo.
Councilman Christopher Vargo, 8th District, present.
Councilwoman Katie Muller.
Councilwoman Katie Muller, 9th District, present.
Councilman Steve Johnstone is absent, and Chairman Nicholas Pascal.
Chairman Nicholas Pascal, present.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The time is 7 o'clock, and the public hearing on for legislative matters communication D from the July 22nd, 2024 agenda from Mayor Dorinda Boer regarding an amendment to Chapter 191 to adopt and incorporate a new section that will be known as Section 191-56A of the Code of the City of West Haven, entitled Sewer Connections, Permits and Fees, Construction Requirements. Would anyone from the public like to address the City Council on this item? For a second time, would anyone from the public like to address the City Council? For a third and final time, would anyone from the public like to address the City Council? Seeing none, public hearing is now closed. The time is 7:01. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. We will now enter into public session. The time is now 7:01. Would anyone like to speak before the City Council?
Hi, I'm Kathy Hebert, 166 Bloom Street, West Haven, and I just want to say thank you. For 10 years, I've been up here asking for the large covered wheeling recycle bins, and I live on Bloom Street near Morse Street, Morse Ave, and every Tuesday, milk cartons, etc., you know the drill, would go rolling down, and there really is very little of that. Sometimes, people overstuff their covered bin, but basically it's a dramatic improvement, so thank you.
Thank you for your comments. We are. I just don't think the TVs are on. They must have turned them off for the window project they did. Sir, you had your hand up next. Yes.
Mike said to make sure that we're okay.
Thank you very much.
Sir, just give us 1 second. We're gonna make sure that we're broadcasting as we should be.
So maybe we're unplugged because of the windows.
No stream detection.
I bet you we're not on.
Kathy, you're gonna have to come up and speak again. This time with a little more zhuzh. No.
We're on, but I just want to make sure that we're really on.
Oh, he said.
Oh, we said we're on? Oh, you're watching it. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, sir, whenever you're ready.
Name is Robert Wachowski, 93 Dalton Street. It's the 5th District. How should I start? Well, thank you for letting me speak. Hello, all council members, fellow citizens. This is a really small crowd. That's unusual. I Usually, I haven't come here for a while. It's been a long time. And I don't come here unless I got something to really complain about. So if you see me, it's usually something I'm steaming. And there's a couple issues, 3 issues. One is I'm getting tired of seeing city trucks at the Nike site sleeping during regular working hours. And the Nike site was a disaster for a whole year and a half. Recently, it's been cleaned up quite a bit, but not completely. But yeah, you could go up there anytime between 12 and 3 o'clock and find 4 or 5 city trucks with guys sleeping in their trucks. You know, that's not what my tax dollars are paying for. Okay, I like to see that get changed. I do have photos, but I've been working crazy. I haven't been able to print them up, but I will, and I'll come back. The other issue is, sorry, my councilman isn't here, and the mayor isn't here. I like to bring up the fact that a lot of these council members, I've understood that a lot of council members do not believe that their job here is to do the mayor's bidding, do what the mayor wants. And that's not true. You run for the office of your district, you know, whether it be Democrat or Republican. You're running for that district on that party because it keeps it separate to make opponents. But once the election is over, the party hat comes off. And you now work for the constituents that voted for you. You are not here to work for the mayor. The mayor can bring up ideas or, you know, her thoughts. But if they're not good for your district, if you're not, you know, if your constituents don't want that, that's how you vote. You don't vote for the mayor just to do her deeds. You're here to work for your constituents. And if you believe that you're not here to work for the constituents that voted for you in your district, and they voted for you in that district because you said you were going to represent them. And if you feel that's not what you're here for, if you really believe you're here to do the bidding for the mayor or some other larger politician who wants to do something that's not good for your district, then you need to step down and go home because you're not helping this city at all. The third, and that's my strongest point, that's really the real aggravating one, because so many times this has happened and everybody thinks that they're here to work for the mayor. You're not here to work for the mayor. You're here to work for us. Mac is here to work for me. I voted in my district. You know, the party hat comes off and you're here to represent your district, not the mayor. You need to get that into your heads, or you need to go home and just resign. The third is, I know this has nothing to do with here, but everybody's complaining about their electric bills. I got mine. And the thing is, you know, it starts here. Our mayor has communications and connections up there in Hartford. And the way the company, the UI company is operating is disgraceful. It's ripping people off. I shouldn't be paying, you know, $100 a month to go to public, what do they call it? Public benefits, to pay for somebody who didn't pay their electric bill. It's not my responsibility. And it's not nobody else's. It's the person who has that electric bill, not me. And I shouldn't be paying for it. But I know if we don't get on to Hartford, our mayor, or your councilman, you got to get in your contacts and fight this. because we can't afford it. And we can't afford the tax increases. It's getting ridiculous. Electric bills going up 3 times. It's almost, you could say it's 100% or 200% for some people. And, and you're going to raise taxes? Where's the money coming from? These people are already working their butts off, working too hard, just trying to earn a dime. And we're going to pay for people who don't want to pay their bills, don't want to work, got their hand out every damn time they turn around. No, I'm not doing it. And I called the UI company and I told them, I'm subtracting that out of my bill. I'm not paying it. And that's what everybody else should do. All right, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak before the city council? Yeah, you have to, unfortunately. And name and address for the record.
I didn't know. I haven't been to a council meeting in a long time. My name's Judy Smith, and I live on Forest Road in Allentown. So I just wanted to make a comment, and I've always feel like Allentown now Allentown looks much better because of what I guess UNH has done, but we don't really benefit from it that much. So one of my problems is I have a question, and maybe someone can answer for me. Are they still making or in the process of finding a place to put the library, the old Louis Piantino Library? Are they?
Yes.
We are, okay. Because I thought it was going to be on Fairfax Avenue by the old middle school, but that's not going to happen.
They're still looking for a place. As far
Okay,
as I know.
my other suggestion is, what about the CVS on Orange Avenue? I think that was I saw that on Facebook. They were talking about that.
We can give that suggestion to their committee, or somebody here can.
Yeah, I don't know if it would have to be remodeled, of course, inside and so forth. So I guess that's about it. And I'd like to see UNH pay more of their taxes to West Haven, but I know we have to pay most of it. So I would like to hopefully that be looked in, because my children grew up at the library. I volunteered there a lot, and it's very sad that there's no library for our community, for Allentown. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Somebody else had their hand. Miss in the back?
Hi, my name is Pauline Kachopli, and I live on Richard Street in West Haven. And recently I've acquired a pigeon issue on my home from my neighbor who used to have a dog, then had a cat, and then decided that she was going to start feeding pigeons and throwing the seed out in the driveway and in her grass. And so now what happens is, from like 5 or 6 pigeons, it's accumulated to like 50 or 60, and most of them reside on my roof while they're waiting for her to open up her door and throw the food out. So in the meantime, I've gone to a few friends, and this is very upsetting to me because this is damaging my home. So I went to the health department, and the health department went there and told them to stop feeding the pigeons. They did not. The health department served them papers on August 13th to cease and desist to stop feeding the pigeons. They did not. So I had to hire a roofer. I have 5 owls posted on my roof at this moment on my home to keep these nasty rats with wings off my home. From the roofer, they have taken photos, and I'm waiting for him to give me written quotes, because what these 50 and 60 and 70 pigeons do while they're sitting there waiting for the neighbor to throw the food out is they peck all of the sand that's on your roofing shingles. They have pecked them all off. Not only that, they're pooping all over my vehicle, my home, mulberries. My house looks like you would not even believe. I have solar panels and they are pooping all over those. And what is happening is it's all baking on from the sun. So that stuff doesn't even wash off with the rain. I have planter windows, the same thing. I open up a window and there's more bird poop. It's just all over. And the research that I found is that pigeon poop has got about 16 different kinds of bacteria in it that are toxic to humans. And when they throw the food out on the ground, they're not only attracting the pigeons, but they are attracting other rodents and rats and other kind of critters that come and scavenge for the leftovers. And I've gone out in my driveway at like 6:30 in the morning to go water my garden, and there's chunks of feathers because there are owls and hawks around. I don't know which is eating them, but it's like there's 5 or 6, 8 feathers together, and I know what a pigeon feather looks like at this point, and with a chunk of meat attached to it. So they're getting eaten, but just not fast enough, in my opinion. So I'm here to find out from the council what the next game plan is, because I have roof damage. This is affecting my health, my sleep, my home. Anything I do on my property does not affect them whatsoever. What they're doing on their property is affecting my life. I wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning. I can't go back to sleep. It's annoying, and there's nothing I can do. I can't climb up on the roof. I have to pay somebody. What they're doing by throwing stuff out there is affecting my life, and that should not be. As a citizen to another citizen, they should not be doing that. And I'd like to see them being arrested, fined, or something, because once I get the quote from my lawyer, I get from my roofer, I am going to go to a lawyer and seek legal advice from him, because I just can't keep going on this way. And even as of Saturday, the birds, the pictures, people drive by my house and they're like, "Oh my God, Pauline, I thought you were talking about like a couple of birds." We're talking the whole roof. And if anyone wants to see pictures, I'd be glad you give me an email and I'll be glad to send them to you, because it's just horrendous. So I need the council to ask the health department what the next step is in regards to these people realizing what it is that they're doing to other people, because of the owls that I put up on my roof. Not only did they still come back, but they fly around my house like they're waiting for these other owls to move, but they don't. So they're going on to the 2 houses next door to her on either side, waiting for her. They're trained. They know when she opens the door to throw, and she's going to throw the food out. I got pictures of her with, it looks like a milk bottle thing, just throwing the seed up in the air. She looks like she's the pigeon queen or something. I don't know. It's I have never seen this in my entire life. I have lived at this house for 39 years. This is the first time that I've ever had to deal with this.
Miss, when you went to the podium, you said Richmond Street. What number Richmond Street are you at?
I live at 66. They live at 67.
Okay, perfect.
Richard Street.
Oh, Richards. I'm sorry, I heard it wrong then.
Sorry. I apologize.
Thank you. All right.
Mine is a 2-family house. If I can, my son took my 20-foot ladder away from me because I was climbing it. So if I was able to get up there and do it myself, I would. I can't. I have to hire somebody. And this is costing me money what they're doing. And that's not fair to me. I don't care what my neighbors do. They could do whatever they want. But when it starts coming in my pocket, damaging my property, my health, my sleep, it's really an issue. It's not fair. So if the health department can get back to me, or someone on the council can get back to me, and if they need pictures, they want to see anything, I have date stamped information from my Ring camera and my cell phone.
Okay, we'll reach out to him. Thank you.
Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak before the city council? For a second time, would anyone like to speak before the city council?
Hi, good evening, y'all. It's nice to see many of you again. I'm back
Name and address, if you would, please.
Yes, my name, is this being picked up? My name is Nika Zeresvand, and I live at 740 Quinnipiac Avenue in New Haven, Connecticut, 06513. And I'm here because for about 9 months at least, we have been bringing up the name Roya Mohammadi. And at this point, I don't know if I need to go over the case again, but she was a Muslim Afghan woman who was likely murdered and found dead in the river. And her case has been grossly neglected and mishandled by the police. Since then, we've been going to countless police commission meetings, bringing this up, to having private meetings with the chairman of the police commission, who has now resigned, calling his attention to this issue. But I'm really here because I've had the pleasure of speaking with many of you privately, just after session. And we've had a little conversation about how, if ever, the city council has responded to initiatives of domestic violence and initiatives related to women's safety and initiatives related to accountability measures to make sure that the money that we're spending on the authorities that are responsible for responding to these cases are actually doing their job and not discriminating against certain people. And truly, I respect you all, but I have not received an affirmative response about what is even possible. I've always had to kind of come up with a proposal of, well, why isn't spending on this issue a priority? Does spending on this issue ever come up in the budget? Does spending on this issue ever come up in the agenda? I've had to find creative ways to integrate this into your agenda, but unfortunately, to this point, I haven't heard a proposal or an initiative to incorporate this into the active agenda and priorities of the city council. And I feel like it's starting to feel like there are two versions of West Haven. There is one version of West Haven where people really deal with issues with their property. And that is a really lovely West Haven where we assume that all women are fine, that children are okay, that the police are doing what the police are supposed to be doing. But it's completely neglecting the fact that there is another West Haven where if you're an immigrant and you live here, you're treated differently, and yet people don't even want to admit that you're being treated differently, that something else is going on, that every time you go to the police, you get the runaround. And at this point, it's almost like and I always choose to speak last because I want this to be that West Haven. I want this to be that West Haven where our only issue is pigeons pooping on our roofs, on our property. I want that for West Haven. That would be a West Haven where Roya would be alive. But I don't see an interest from city council members to take this initiative. It's always the responsibility of the police, which we have shown has had a history of mishandling these cases. Not just this case, going back 20 years. So this is not new for West Haven. And yet it's becoming increasingly difficult to incorporate this into the priorities of the city. And so I've heard you address multiple people that are coming up and speaking on the issues that they need addressed. And I'm wondering genuinely, this is not a rhetorical question. I don't just come up here to lecture, but we have heard a resounding silence, and in some cases, my colleague has been just sheerly yelled at by the commissioner. Gavel banged, and you know the whole situation. And yes, he resigned, and nobody ever mentioned that it's because of a pattern of inappropriate behavior towards people. He directed his rage towards somebody who is already in lockup. And he also directed his rage toward my colleague who was trying to advocate for her friend who is dead. And unfortunately, I wish this was not the case, but that is also in line with the silence that we have received from this room right here. I appreciate that you let me come talk to you. I do. But we don't just come here to chat. We want to see something different for West Haven. We want to see a West Haven where at the very minimum, even if there are no initiatives to help women survive, to live their best lives, no matter who they are, even if the bare minimum is just investigating their deaths and getting to the bottom of what happened to them, honestly and truthfully, we would probably not be here. That's the West Haven we want. And it's not being handled in that manner. It wasn't. And it's not enough that it is now. It's not enough. There needs to be accountability because this has happened again and again and again. I don't want to talk this long. I'd rather hear from you how you feel this could be incorporated into your agenda and your priorities.
So it feels to me like the question you're asking is what we can do to help you, but unfortunately, with an active police investigation, we can't even get information from the police department because that's standard procedure. So there's nothing I can really give forward to you about the situation. We've all made individual inquiries. We've inquired as the council. You've talked to the mayor, and it's not something that I think the council can help you with, unfortunately. But we want you to be heard, and we're giving you that platform. I just don't see how the council can help during an active investigation into this matter.
I appreciate that, but I think we've addressed numerous times how we don't want the council to intervene in an active investigation. We want to know how you are addressing the pattern of this happening over time.
That falls under the purview of the police commission.
Right, and so the city council has never engaged in issues related to women's safety or initiative spending for programs created to make sure that women's concerns and safety concerns are being heard in the city.
We are the purse strings of the government. So yes, we do allot the money, but we don't say how it's spent. The police department is a whole dollar budget, and they spend once we give them the money, they spend it as they see fit with the help of the administration.
Right, but there have never been initiatives that you have supported outside of the police department related to guaranteeing women's safety, even equity measures, making sure that, folks of all races, backgrounds in West Haven are being treated equally and there's not being discrimination against them. That does not fall within the purview of the city council.
Policy does. I'm not sure what.
That's what I'm talking about, policy.
Okay.
But I've never heard any suggestions or proposals, even though we are talking about a civil rights violation, even though we're talking about misconduct. We've constantly been told there's nothing to speak about here, but that's precisely what we're asking for, is policy changes that would ensure that next time a woman's death is dealt with differently. And there isn't this, question of, do we investigate because is it a suicide or not, But is that something that the city council can address, can make a priority?
So we can talk about this after the meeting. Unfortunately, this really isn't supposed to be a definitive back and forth.
I understand.
While you're standing at the podium, we're supposed to hear your concerns and then contemplate them as individuals.
I just wanted to clarify, but I appreciate it.
But yeah, unfortunately, there's nothing I can do for you now. If you want to see me after the meeting, we can discuss what options you have in mind, but I really don't know personally where we can go from here as far as what the council can do.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for the time to speak. I just wanted to reflect that I have tons of ideas, but I would like to hear ideas from council members as well as to how this could be incorporated into your agenda and priorities. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak before the city council? For the second time, would anyone like to speak before the city council? For the third and final time, would anyone like to speak before the city council? Public session is now closed. The time is 7:28. We will now convene the 8/26/24 regularly scheduled council meeting at also 7:28. I am looking for a motion to approve the journal of 7/22/24. Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? One abstention. Motion carries. Will the council clerk please hand out the communications for this evening?
We have before us communication ARPA 826-2024 from Ken Carney regarding an amendment to the ARPA CARES Act financial management funding being assigned to the council as a whole. Chairman Pascal. Communication A from the tax collector regarding overpayment refunds for August 2024, which will be filed with tonight's minutes. Communication B from Mayor Dorinda Boer regarding a resolution authorizing the city of West Haven to enter into a real property tax incentive agreement with CDM Holdings, LLC, to support the redevelopment of 183 Beach Street, being assigned to the Tax Deferral Committee. That was going to be Chairman Johnstone, and he's absent. Donovan?
Yes, he'll be
Chairman Donovan? Communication C from Mayor Dorinda Boer regarding the donation of a sliver of property owned by West Haven Propco at 310 Terrace Avenue as described in the legal description, being assigned to the Public Lands Committee, Chairman Donovan. Communication D from Mayor Dorinda Boer regarding the appointment of Richard Standish, 78 Atwater Street, West Haven, Connecticut, as an alternate member to the Planning and Zoning Commission. Mr. Standish's appointment will be for a term of 2 years, effective immediately, and will expire on August 31st, 2026, being assigned to the Personnel and Civil Service Committee, Chairwoman Coletti. Communication E from Robert Sandella, Acting Commissioner of Public Works, requesting approval to install additional lighting in the area of 284 and 288 Park Street, being assigned to the Streets and Squares Committee, Chairman Donovan. Communication F from Mayor Dorinda Boer regarding an amendment to Chapter 199 to adopt and incorporate a new Section 199-5 regarding cigarette dealer licenses and renewals, being assigned to the Legislative Matters Committee, Chairman Vargo. Communication G from Mayor Dorinda Boer regarding an amendment to Chapter 128, Article 2, Section 128-10, citations for violations, being assigned to the Legislative Matters Committee, Chairman Vargo. Communication H from Mayor Dorinda Boer regarding an amendment to ordinance of blight prevention, 129-8, penalties for offenses enforcement, being assigned to the Legislative Matters Committee, Chairman Vargo. And Communication I from Mayor Dorinda Boer regarding a state Homeland Security Memorandum of Understanding, being assigned to the Legislative Matters Committee, Chairman Vargo. And that concludes the communications for this evening, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. We will now recess into committee meetings at 7:32. First up in council as a whole, we have the ARPA update by Ken Carney.
Hello, everyone. Mr. Chairman, it's amazing how good you look in front of that brand new window behind you there. Amazing.
Thank you.
If we have extras, we need them down here. We need two. One for Johnstone and one for Katie. Do you have one? Oh, Mackie.
Is that what it is? Thank God.
I can start from the top if you'd like. So the ARPA financial management, we're before you tonight requesting $250,000 out of contingency. That is to pay for the soft costs associated with over 20 ARPA projects. Back in May 28th of 2024, we submitted a budget to the council that described how Carmody, UHY, Robert Half, and Jow Films were billing us, and we predicted that we would make it through the end of June. We made it close to August, and now we're out of funds. Our largest projects are before us. That would be the Painter Park Fieldhouse, the work at the fire stations, the window project, and these are complicated contracts that have to be negotiated, a lot of reporting. There's still the quarterly reports that are being done by outside vendors such as UHY, and we have people in City Hall that we are funding through ARPA monies. So to continue with these projects, we need additional funds to pay these bills. Okay. Any questions on that one? The child development.
We'll see. You want to go?
It's up to you. You're however you want to do it.
Okay, we'll stop there. Vargo first. Go right ahead. Okay, Councilman Vargo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. How are you, Ken?
Good, sir. How are you?
Good, thank you. Little concerned. I understand the need of allocating more money for the professionals. I understand paying the professionals because they're necessary. So I fully understand that. My concern, honestly, is the economics. Right now, we're being asked to transfer an additional $250,000 from contingency. The only unappropriated contingency money left is 156 and change. So now we're adding about another 90 from contingency that we received by not doing other projects. How far is that going to get us?
So some of the more expensive projects coming up, you have a business facade program. Each vendor who applies has to be fully vetted by the accountants and at some point the attorneys. You have the larger contracts that are coming into play right now. I think you'll almost make it. I can't guarantee. It depends on how much pushback we get from vendors, how much information we have to collect. You literally have a person full-time collecting information to satisfy the checklist for every single dollar that goes out on ARPA, and we have to pay her.
So when you say almost make it through, this 250 may be it.
I think it could be. I can't guarantee it. I'll also say that the ARPA, the federal folks tell us that 10% of the total grant should go to soft costs. That's $3 million. Worst case scenario, you're going to come well under 1.5.
Right, but the concern is that we have 414,000 right now.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're going to take 250 from that. Okay. I understand that all of the funds have to be committed by the end of this calendar year, but the projects don't have to be complete for another 24 months.
Correct.
So over that span of 24 months, what is the likelihood of your committee needing additional funds? How much, and where is that going to come from? Because once the 414 is spent, we have an economics problem.
Good question. So each of the larger projects has their own contingency.
Okay.
Okay. So for example, and don't hold me to this. I don't have the files in front of me. I've got about 65,000 in for the window project. I'm not going to use that. We're halfway through the windows. I don't see any big change orders coming. I've got on the firehouse another 125,000 because I'm concerned about coming out of the ground. I've got potential contingency on painter. We won't know until the project comes in, but we build individual contingencies in each of these large projects.
So you have buffers in these projects, and if you
100%.
don't hit that goes back into the general contingency.
Correct. Yeah, we're not relying, and what you're saying is 100% correct. We're not relying on this 414 to fund those larger projects. We're relying on the individual projects that have their own contingencies.
Do we have any projects that are in the hopper that are tracking over budget?
No. So when I go through them tonight, you'll see that not all have come in yet. The most worrisome, if you will, is the police Butler building. We have about 243,000 left for that. I don't know if that's going to be a viable project.
What number is that? I'm sorry.
Police is 2023-017. We've got about 234 left after soft costs. I don't know if that's a viable project, financially speaking. If it comes in that, in that amount of money or less, we still have to look for if it's doable or not.
Ken, which project was that?
2023-017.
Thank you.
So that has not come back yet from the street.
And what about the firehouses?
Under budget across the board. So for example, over at West Shore, and these are rough numbers, we came in at 823 with an $80,000 option for a new kitchen. We nixed the new kitchen, which was really never part of the project. That $80,000 became our contingency for that project. So I got 80 grand sitting there in West Shore as a contingency, which is about 10% of the project. So we're shooting for about 10% contingency. And if we start approaching those kind of numbers and eating up the contingency, then we go to value engineering. We start taking things out to make this work.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Councilman Donovan?
Thank you, Chairman. Ken, how are you?
Good, sir. How are you?
Good. All right, so do we still have, I know you talked about, we have somebody looking over the checks and balances, but we also have people here doing it in the City Hall, but we're still paying this other group. So we can cut that other group out, correct?
So we have, at the mayor's direction, we have reduced UHY's participation considerably in this process. So going forward, we're going to be spending less money at UHY. However, they're still the agent of record, if you will, to do the quarterly reports. And there are times that we need them to talk about ARPA spending rules and how how we can apply the funds and how we can't apply the funds. And there's constantly changes coming down from the feds, many of which are positive, that we wouldn't know nothing about without that group working with us.
Have you discussed to them maybe work with their fee at all? Because I'm gonna tell you, after this 250, it's gonna be hard to come back and ask us again for more.
So the budget that I presented back in May, they stuck to. That's how we made it to today.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions so far? Councilwoman Heffernan? You're welcome.
The navigator system at the library, still not paid. Still not going to be paid.
So the recent set of invoices that we received were revised appropriately, and they are in the system to be paid. We had many months where we got no invoices at all, and then when we finally did get invoices, they were not accepted because of the way they were formatted and how they were added up. It didn't make any sense. So I believe we're in a good spot with them now, and I think the Navigator program is a great program, and we want to get them paid. But their invoices were accepted at the last meeting this August, and typically it's about a 25 to 30 day pay cycle. So I expect them to be paid soon.
They should be paid by the end of September?
I would hope they paid in the next week.
Oh.
Now I don't cut the checks.
No, okay.
You know, but I do send emails to the finance people and say, hey, where are these checks?
Mr. Carney, where is that on our sheet?
The Navigator?
Yeah.
That is, it's 100,000, which is
22-013.
correct.
Labeled as broadband access. Okay, thank you.
I didn't make the names. So.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Any other questions? Councilwoman Tucker?
Is there a timeline for, because you said 2 more years, right, for these projects that are listed here to be completed? Is that what you said?
Correct. Yes.
So is there a timeline for each of them for?
Yes. So as the bids come in, we do a scope review. and one of the requirements is a schedule.
Mhm.
So I presently have a schedule for West Shore. I have a schedule for Allentown. Those are two large projects. Painter Park and the police shed are still out to bid. And when those bids come in, we will get a schedule. But we do request a schedule, and a schedule of values, by the way, and an actual project schedule.
So the contingency that's attached to these things
Mhm.
is, is what you're saying that the contingency funds that are there are likely to be there upon completion of the project? Is that what you're predicting?
So we start off with about a 10% contingency.
Mhm.
We do our best to hold the line. Whenever we have to dip into it, we dip into it. Whatever left will fall to the bottom line
Yep.
here on the ARPA contingency.
Okay. And so I don't know if this was answered with the question that was asked before. So if you're paid, if, you know, with the funds that you're asking for, your plan is to use the contingency funds to pay, to be able to pay you guys for the projects that are going forward, or is this going to be a final payment
Well,
to you guys? Like, what is your plan?
The plan right now is for each project to contain its own contingency to support the projects.
Yes.
And the plan is to ask the council for $250 to continue the soft cost work,
Yep.
and then make that go as far as possible. And I think we're coming to the end of soft costs.
Okay, so even though the work will continue for 2 more years, your plan is to not need to come back for additional funding after this?
So I don't control all of these expenses. There's projects in here that are run by the mayor. There are people in City Hall that are being paid to work on ARPA. They're gonna have to continue. That's a smaller bucket of money.
Yep.
I would hope the 250 would get us through most of it, but I can't guarantee it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Heffernan?
Hi. Again, just have another question. The EMS premium pay for the 3 fire districts, there was over $1 million designated, and that was not approved by ARPA. Approximately 300,000 was approved, correct?
No, it was all approved by ARPA, and then MARB approved
Oh, that's
roughly 254. The balance is going back to the firehouses for equipment, is my understanding.
I was wondering if there was a set number, if they're giving all of that money to the firehouse, or if part of that was a contingency for.
My understanding is that they're going to buy equipment with the remaining funds. Whether they spend it all or not, I do not know.
Okay, there's no plan yet. So we'll have to be approved for that, will that have to go for approval as well?
Whatever
they decide to spend it on?
There'll be a MARB approval if it's over 50, and I think MARB may have already approved that equipment expense.
Okay.
And I don't know if the resolution that exists now would cover that or not. I'd have to look at that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councilwoman Coletti? And then
Thank you, Chairman. Hi, Ken.
Hi.
So basically by December, most of these folks, aside from the quarterly reports, right, are there to make sure any phase of any project remains in compliance with ARPA. Otherwise, we may be liable from taxpayer dollars down the line to repay those funds. That's the point of that.
Correct.
And then, so the 414,258 of that is remaining from projects, it says. But that's not the same remaining from projects contingency that you're talking about.
No.
Okay, different
No,
buckets.
those are projects that closed, and we didn't use the project contingency, or the project came in under the number that the council originally budgeted.
Right. And then just kind of the only example that I've kind of been close, to observing and understanding is, for example, the small business grants ended up being possibly 38 applications.
Yeah.
So that's 38 sub-projects
Mhm.
that then all individually had to be reviewed by third-party consultants. Again,
Yeah.
as we dwindle down to the final number, in 3 months, there won't be any potential for reallocation of these funds if X didn't work out. Right?
You are correct.
So the risk really diminishes to very little
The rule
after December.
You are correct, and I appreciate you bringing that up. The rule is that if we have a project on the books, and for some reason one of these projects doesn't happen, we could take those funds out of contingency and further support those projects past the December 24 deadline.
Got it.
Whereas before, you just gave up the money.
Got
So
it.
now we can at least carry it, but you cannot create a new project.
And when you further support, it may require amendments to the original that would still have to be run through for compliance purposes.
Correct.
But not nearly as much as a
No.
from scratch.
No, we
Okay.
we're not going to spend this 250 as quickly or nearly as quickly as we did the last batch of money because we're coming to the end.
And I think you were catching up a little bit.
We are, yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Councilman Vargo?
Thank you. Councilwoman Coletti touched upon the point I wanted to raise is I want to make sure that I understood from the last time you were here that if a project in 2025 comes in under budget, then we are able to reallocate those funds to a project that's already been approved on this list. Do we have a cap to that? So, for example, if we have, let's say, $300,000 on January 1st, 2025 in contingency, what can we do with that money?
You could spread it out over any of the other projects. So there are some projects, for example, that you may want to expand, and you could use that money to do that. Now, you're not going to expand a building or a footprint, but you might expand something, a social program. You might expand cameras, something like that.
Paving stuff,
Yeah,
stuff
exactly.
like that.
Yeah.
Do we have limits on a per project basis or?
No.
Okay.
The fact that my understanding is the fact that the project was approved by a council resolution, we can add whatever money we have left over to that project through December of 26.
So if any of the fire department buildings come in under budget, we have another 250, just for example.
You might be fighting the fire department in that. But
We might be
yes,
fighting
yeah,
them,
yeah.
but if we have it, then we can.
Correct.
We can reallocate if we
Yeah.
need to.
Probably not the best example. That's
But
okay.
yeah, I take that back. Thank you.
So as long as the project is named, you can expand on it after that deadline you were saying?
That is correct. After the December 24 deadline, that's a change that came down the pike about 4 months ago.
And you have no hand in creating these projects. You're just administering them. That's
Oh,
correct.
I don't create any projects.
Right.
Right, yeah.
Okay. Any other questions at this? Councilwoman
Since you
Tucker?
mentioned cameras.
Yes. I shouldn't have, right? I'm done.
That's your mistake.
Did you see the new window over here? Did you see that?
Saw the windows. Are we there yet?
So I actually got an email from Sergeant Thompson, and they have some ideas to expand the camera project with the funds we have left.
Okay.
They're driving that. I'm just looking at it from a accounting standpoint and a rule standpoint. They're great people to work with, and we're going to meet, I think, late this week, early next week. Go to the site, and he's going to tell me what he wants done.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other questions? No? Okay. Councilwoman Garthwaite?
Hi, Ken.
Hello, Melanie.
Can you give us a list of the cameras at the next meeting?
So I think you have that list.
Isn't there an update?
I'll talk to Sergeant Thompson. See what
Okay,
I can do.
thank you.
Okay, any other questions up to this point? Okay, Mr. Carney, continue.
Okay, moving on here. So the roof for the Child Development Center worked out pretty well. We had the manufacturer show up once a week. They took pictures, they took measurements, and they gave us the full warranty on that roof. We had the architects there once a week. The company that did the work was not easy to work with at all. But with the architect and the manufacturer, it turned out very good. I was up on the roof myself. I walked it with the manufacturer and the architect. We made a small punch list. My understanding that punch list is complete. So that job was a success. Everyone was sensitive to the children in the wing. There were no issues of water coming through or ceiling tiles coming down or anything like that. And that's a 30-year roof. So everybody's very happy with that. Parks Fund, there's a lot going on there. We have the Vietnam Veterans Memorial expansion. That's within that fund. We have potentially some electrical in the green. We have Plainfield Park work up there. So there's still a lot going on in parks. The food, we get invoices from the 3 recipients or subrecipients, I should say, and we process those as soon as we get them. Stormwater Capital Fund. If you go to your book and you go to page, let's see what we got here. Go to page 6 and page 7. And this is just one example of what the crews are finding out on the street. On page 6, you have a picture of what looks like a hole in the asphalt. It's really a storm grate. And we're finding these all over the city. So you've got storm grates that have been covered over the years. People are screaming there's flooding issues. This is like the best bang for your buck. We're finding these things, we're opening them up, and page 7 shows what happens, and you know that neighborhood has less flooding because of that. So we've got about 10 of these I could show you. So the stormwater problem areas, I talked to Mr. Sandella. He's going to put another crew on. All of this money has been obligated through a ARPA rule that allowed the mayor to sign an MOU with the Department of Public Works and commit the funds through December of 26. So even though we don't have bills, the entire amount has been committed. Okay. Recycling Reuse Center, that was converted, as you know, to the totes. We've paid a large sum of that already. The library we just talked about, we have invoices in August that were approved. City Hall windows, if you go to page 5. Here we have an example. The west side of the building is virtually complete, which is what you guys would consider the main entrance coming in the back. We have a photo here of an old window and a new window. You can kind of see the difference. The checklist, which actually you have behind you, I created for the vendor, and we put that at every single window opening, and the vendor's responsible for checking off all 10 steps and signing it, and that goes in the file. The pictures on the bottom show the plastic that's down and how difficult this is to remove windows. They're only removing 4 windows a day. They have to set up containment on the inside by plasticking off the inside. That means moving furniture, moving desks, alerting people in City Hall to what's going on. Once they seal the inside with tape and plastic, 2 layers, they go outside. They have to put plastic on the ground. Any window below them has to be plastic again. They've got to put a decon station outside made out of plastic so they can change their clothes without stepping off the plastic. They get the window out. They got to scrape everything, wrap every piece up, bring it to the dumpster, and then the guys come and they put the new window in. So we're kind of limited between 4 and 6 windows a day because of that. But I think the big news is how cooperative the employees at City Hall have been. You could not find nicer people. They treat the guys great. They move their stuff. They're patient. They're very happy with their windows. Everybody is a lot of compliments. Really, really great people. We have not met one person to give us a hard time. Everyone's been wonderful. We've had people reschedule meetings, which we say, listen, you don't have to reschedule. No, we're going to reschedule the meeting. We want our window. Some really, really good people. So we're very happy about that. Any questions on the windows? Allentown is, there's a schedule which I don't have with me, but they're going to start the concrete fairly soon. We just removed a tree to make ready for the building, and that came in, I believe, just under 9. And obviously I have a contingency as well. The Center District is, the ARPA attorneys are negotiating the purchase of those 2 properties. So that's something that is happening that we're paying the attorneys to do. I hope to have that resolved soon. The West Shore Fire Department came in, I think, $834,000 maybe, way under budget, and that's to remodel 2 stations to create better sleeping quarters. We already had the scope review. We do have a schedule kicking around somewhere, but everybody seems pretty content on that. The cameras we've talked about. Painter Park Fieldhouse, those bids are due next week. And once the numbers come in, we'll know where we stand and what our contingency is and see if it's a viable project or not. EMS we talked about. So the items in pink are items that the mayor has asked the council for, and I'm not as familiar with those items, so I'm leaving those for the mayor to share with you. The Haley School ramp, we do have a start date of within the next 2 weeks. The turf is done. The HVAC for the community house, the Noble Street Community Center, that is installed. Now, I understand the AC is working, but the heat hasn't been hooked up yet, and they're telling me next week they're going to hook up the heat, at which point we'll look at it carefully, and then we'll make the final payment. Electrical main breakers, we finally got a vendor on the state bid list to do that work. I'm working with Andy on that. The bleacher repair at Veterans Field, after almost 8 months of trying to get someone to do that work, we found the original manufacturer, and the mayor signed a $3,500 structural review. They were out there last week. The company that manufactures the bleachers are the only ones that are allowed to work on them because they're second use. They were taken from Yale and put there. No other company will touch them. So we're waiting for the final report, and then from that report, they'll give us a price and what it's going to cost to fix those bleachers. Community house, community mental health needs. We've spent about 40% of the money so far. That's Bridges. They have given us invoices timely. They're well put together, and we're paying them. The police storage shed, the bid is due on the 10th, I believe. Paving, I'm told, has been spent, and that's what I have for ARPA projects. Page 1 is your list, just a little bit smaller. Page 2 and 3 is the resolution. Page 5 is the windows. 6 and 7 is the storm drain. And then if Washington is next, I do have that in the same book. If you want me to talk about that.
Sorry, I think we have a couple more questions. Sure. Councilman Vargo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ken, you mentioned that the storage shed for the police department may not be economically feasible, I think you said.
Correct.
Could you just elaborate on that, and if you know, what would that mean for the PD?
So, not my decision. We've always suspected that a project or two would come back to you, and we would say, listen, there's just not enough money in this budget to support this project. And I could be completely wrong. We had to move that project away from some underground wires, and it got a little bit larger, and it got put in the impound center. So until the bids come in, I don't know.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Councilwoman Callahan?
Hi, Ken. How are you?
How are you?
I was wondering on an update on I don't know if you have an update on the Plainfield Park.
Sure. So Olivia landed some grant money to pay an engineer to design trails, a parking area, a community garden, and bring water into the site. And once that's designed, and I think they told me 6 weeks, we will then be able to put it out to bid, and that money, those funds will come from the parks. Mm-hmm. It'll be a parks fund. It'll be like a menu pricing. So if it comes in too much, we can pick and choose what to do.
Okay. Is there going to be barriers around that to protect from the wetlands? Do you know? Or is they're going to rely on a natural barrier?
So I don't know that level of detail, but there's always protection for wetlands. Okay. Yeah, but I don't know that level of detail.
All right. I was just curious. I know I talked to Olivia before, and she said she was in the works with that. So I was just wondering if you had a further.
She would probably know better than me.
Update. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councilwoman Coletti?
Just a general question. I think you've been doing. I think this is a tremendous load of project management.
I can't wait till it's over.
Yes, I'm sure. So I wanted to ask you. I know you can reallocate some of these funds potentially, but there's a lot of low percentages in terms of, and there's a lot of projects being discussed in terms of viability. do you think that there would be any advantage to hiring someone from the outside for the next 3 months to assist you in project management to usher some of these bid proposals back and forth to help you really determine, is it a viable project or is it not?
Sure. So I think we've hired those people. I think the architects and designers that are part of the project, we rely on a lot. I think the larger projects are much easier to manage than several small projects. So I think we've been relying on the architect. We rely on the low bidder. We do value engineering. We create a contingency. I think at this point we're probably okay, in my opinion.
So it's not a lot of like just bidding, pushing bids back and forth.
No, it hasn't even happened yet, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just anticipating it may happen.
Got it.
And the bottom line is, and I'm just making this up, if the police storage shed comes in at 800,000, I doubt that, but if I had to come back to you and say, guys, this money's now going to contingency, I need to either put that money somewhere else or give me a new project.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Obviously, the council pays specific interest in this because it's really a once in a lifetime opportunity as far as funds go. We probably won't see this ever again, and I think we've made it very clear that we want to make sure that every dollar that's spent is not going back and being spent wisely. So to the council, I appreciate all your questions. And with that being said, I have a motion to approve a matter regarding an amendment to the ARPA/CARES Act financial management funding. Do I have a motion? I don't have a motion. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you very much. Any discussion further?
What is the motion specifically? So
The motion is to amend the ARPA CARES Financial Management Funding Act, the resolution that we have.
to add to 250,000 more, correct?
It's on page 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Yes, the clerk will read that portion of it. Good question.
Just so we have it on record.
Usually it's on our blurb, but it's not on there.
So the whole resolution will be read after the vote, but the portion that the meat of it is
Listen, I was just saying so that
right.
it's on record.
Right, I agree. Okay, so it's going to be resolved that the City Council hereby amends and supplements its prior resolution dated June 9th, 2022 regarding appropriation of ARPA funds to support CARES Act financial management as follows. ARPA CARES Act financial management additional funding. The initial ARPA CARES Act financial management City Council resolution dated June 9th, 2022 appropriated $700,000 to enable the city to engage the necessary legal and financial expertise to effect proper legal and transparent management of all CARES Act funds and associated expenditures. Said funds are intended to be sufficient to provide the monthly reporting to the council, quarterly and final reporting to the U.S. Treasury, and daily financial management of the funds until the close of the ARPA-funded projects. An additional $300,000 was appropriated for the ARPA CARES Act financial management project number 2022-001 by the City Council resolution dated February 12, 2024, increasing the total appropriation to $1 million. An additional $250,000 is hereby appropriated for the ARPA CARES Act financial management project number 2022-001. This additional appropriation is necessary in order to meet ongoing needs for legal, financial, and related administrative assistance with the ARPA project expenditures, including but not limited to necessary ARPA-compliant contracts and other agreements governing expenditures. This additional $250,000 appropriation shall be drawn from the existing ARPA contingency funds.
Thank you. Thanks for pointing that out, Councilman. Okay, so any discussion on that? 250,000. Go ahead.
Not a question. Is it right to ask a question? So we have already appropriated $1 million, and Mr. Carney's asking for 250,000 more.
Correct.
And this is just for what you call soft costs.
So specifically the legal fees, the accounting fees, and the full-time employees at City Hall that we're funding to handle the ARPA grant money.
And that's also including the people that are not at City Hall, the outside
Yes.
as well. And
Correct.
I think that Councilwoman Coletti had asked, can we maybe scale that back a bit and bring it more in-house so it's not so expensive?
Well, if we bring it in-house, you would pay the in-house person who has not lived this for 2 years and knows all the ins and outs. You would have a learning curve that may be more expensive. I think the key is to reduce the amount of time that the attorneys and the accountants spend as best possible. But it's a tricky thing because if you don't do it right, you risk losing the money.
I understand
Yeah.
totally.
So,
yeah.
so I think 250 will get us close to where we need to be.
And I just, my only concern too is what Council and Vargo said too, is that, we're getting close to, the well is running low. So as far
December,
as still,
that was the goal though. December
to
24
still,
to spend all the money.
to still go forward. But okay, so they answered my question. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Tucker?
The sorry, one more question. The projects that have the low percentage approved by the ARPA committee, are those the projects that have the least, that are the least closest to completion?
Yes and no. So they're protected because contracts have been signed through December of 26. So in the eyes of ARPA, they're already done. What we do is we track the actual invoices that come through, and this, by the way, is a month old. It doesn't show what came in August. But for example, the stormwater, that entire amount has been committed, so we don't have to worry about that.
Okay, so you're committed basically to these.
Correct.
In those cases of projects that may not be completed, where the contingency would roll over to another project, do you have those identified potentially already?
There hasn't been one yet, but we have the police coming in, the police storage shed, and we have Painter Park.
Okay.
Painter Park has got a lot of site work, getting mechanicals to it. I feel confident because it's just the Butler building, so we might be okay. The police, Butler buildings are not as expensive. You might make it. I don't know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay. Seeing none? No, he's just shifting. So once again, let me just restate. This is a motion on the amendment to the ARPA CARES Act financial management funding, reallocating $250,000 from contingency to project costs. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
Excellent.
Thank you very much. Ken, up next you have Washington School project update, which I think we're all waiting very patiently for. That's it looks like it's coming along fast. Do you have any news on that?
We're moving ahead. So our completion date is May of 25. If you look at the budget I just gave you, go to page 9. And if you go to the fourth column, you'll see 425,000 towards the bottom, 2 up from the bottom, in parentheses. That's the surprises and extras that we spent coming out of the ground that came out of our contingency. We fought back hard on that. It was over 500,000. We got it down to 425. And if you look, we have 962,000 in contingency left. And right now, unlike 4 months ago, we're in a very, very good position to have almost $1 million when we're already out of the ground. Our steel is done, our foundations are done, our concrete slabs are done. There should not be many more surprises. In addition to that $1 million, Gilbane has another $1 million in their contingency. So we think the $2 million will carry us through to the completion of this project, and we hope to come in under budget. This is a $41 million project. Originally, the council approved a $19 million spend from city taxpayers. We got that down through special legislation to less than $9 million. Okay, so we think it's a pretty good deal. If you turn the page, Here we have the latest report from the architect. Now, the first picture is a shot looking into the courtyard, completely flooded in the shot, but look in the courtyard. If you look to the left, that wall is the gym wall. And if you notice, there's not much there, and that's because that's going to be completely made out of glass. So when you go into the gym, you'll have 3 normal walls, and you'll have one wall of glass, 16 feet high, that overlooks the playscape in the courtyard. So we're excited about that. Okay. If you go to the next page, which would be page 11, here you can see some of the brickwork going up, and you can see some of the design that you're seeing. If you look at the second row of pictures, the one on the left, there's your cast stone banding, if you will. So what we're doing is we're using this stone to dress the building up, and we moved the roof lines to mirror the roof lines of the local houses. So when you pull up to the front of the school, you're going to have the same pitch as as the houses on the street. So make it like a community type building. And the rest of it is basically just various pictures of what's going on. We're about a month behind schedule because of the 425,000 extras coming out of the ground, but we're trying to make that up now. And if you go to page 13, you can see a mock-up of the different color brick and the banding out of the capstone. The council may want to schedule a tour. We can do a tour at your convenience at 5 o'clock one night. We had a Board of Ed tour scheduled last week, but we had like a super rain, flooded the whole place, so we didn't have that tour. But if the council wants to pick a date, I can make that happen. The only thing is you have to wear long pants, and you cannot have open toes on the shoes. Otherwise, you can't come in the building. Okay? So we're excited about this one.
Any questions from the council on the update? Okay, seeing none, are we ready to let Mr. Carney go? All right, perfect. Thank you.
Everyone have a wonderful night, and thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you as well.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Next up, we have a finance update for MARB meeting, and you want me to just handle it? Okay. MARB does not meet until Thursday, so we do not have an update because MARB has not met and will not meet until after the meeting. Let us move on to legislative matters. Councilman Vargo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The time is 8:16, and your Committee on Legislative Matters is now in session. Councilpersons present are Councilwoman Tucker, Councilwoman Coletti, myself acting as chair, Councilman Locks and Councilman Johnstone are absent. First up on this evening's agenda is Communication F from Mayor Dorinda Boer regarding an amendment to Chapter 199 to adopt and incorporate a new section 199-5 regarding cigarette dealer licenses and renewal. We will need to do a first read and a public hearing, but I'd like to speak with the attorneys. May I have a motion to bring this out favorably?
Motion.
Do I have a second? Thank you. Attorney Jello, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you. So what do we got here?
We have a cigarette dealer license and renewal amendment. What happened was the state laws have changed with respect to this, so we wanted to incorporate the changes into our local ordinances. What these do is it gives local residents an opportunity to object, because when a cigarette dealer's license is coming up for renewal or they're applying for a new license, a sign has to go at the actual location, notifying the public that this individual is applying for a license or a renewal. And it also gives an additional obligation to the license holder to notify the police department that they are applying for renewal, so that it gives the police department an opportunity to weigh in on that renewal too, to really determine if this particular location was ever a problem, if there's crimes, if there's noise. It gives the public and the police department an opportunity to kind of weigh in on that.
One question on the ordinance itself. Subsection B references subdivision 1. Should that be A?
Hold on.
Just want to make sure when I read it correctly.
Which one is this, Councilman Fargo?
If you look at paragraph B, not later than the day following the date an applicant provides notice pursuant to subdivision 1 of this subsection.
Yeah.
Should that be A? referring to the paragraph above.
I think it might be 1 because it refers to the sign that's affixed to the building, I believe, which is the subsection 1 of B. So 1 of B
Okay.
says that the applicant shall affix a copy of such notice. And then I think that also goes into maintaining a legible.
Okay, I just want to make sure
Yeah.
that we're referencing the right
Yes.
sections. And then I guess one more substantive
Yep.
question is: do we have the ability to enlarge this to other nicotine products such as vaping? Because I think that that's the more. No, we don't. Okay. the man with the strings.
What Paul said.
Paul, could
You
you?
have to come to the mic.
See what you got yourself into? They haven't defined tobacco. Tobacco products are defined as tobacco products. It specifically exempts vaping products and nicotine products. So the state would have to redefine the term tobacco to include those in order to incorporate it into this.
Okay. Or create another public act that allows
Yes.
us to do what we're doing here, but for those products.
Yes.
Okay. Anybody on the committee have any questions for Attorney Agello? Anyone on the council? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, hold on.
Is this something that's happening across the state in all?
Well, so it's a state public act that was enacted. So the municipalities have an opportunity to enact this similar ordinance if they choose to. They're not forced to. The mayor keeps kind of a keen eye on new laws that are being enacted and would they benefit the city of West Haven. This is something that she suggested.
Right. So why? What is the impetus for needing to do this?
For the city of West
city,
Haven?
yeah.
Because it gives the general public and the police department an opportunity to kind of identify if particular locations are problematic and gives them an opportunity to weigh in and kind of make a suggestion of whether those licenses should be renewed or not.
All right. So we see a significant problem
Yes.
here in West Haven is what we're
Yeah,
really dealing with.
I think it gives us another level of enforcement that we could use.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All set? Thank you. Anyone else on the council? Okay, thank you. Could we rescind the second and the first?
I rescind my second.
I rescind my first.
Thank you. And Madam Clerk, I would like a public hearing, not the first meeting in September, but could we do the second to make sure we have enough time? Okay, and I have one. I have 3. So what time do you want? 6:45. Thank you. Okay, next up is Communication G from Mayor Dorinda Boer regarding an amendment to Chapter 128, Article 2, Section 128-10, Citations and Violations. Again, for discussion purposes, may I have a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve.
I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. I don't know if it's Attorney Agello or Attorney Dorsey who. I believe all we're doing is changing the fine. We're increasing it from $150 from $100 to $150.
Yes.
And we're also putting in a provision that a citation under this section is enforceable just like a tax lien.
Yes.
And that's really it. So we
Yes.
can.
And similar to the last one we just did, they changed it in the state statutes. The state legislature changed it. We're incorporating it to take advantage of the increased fines and the security of knowing that those fines can be collected because we can lien the property and it'll be treated as a tax lien.
Also accrues at 18% interest.
I believe it will. I believe it will
Okay.
accrue at 18%.
Any discussion from the committee? Anything from the council? Councilman Donovan?
Yes. I don't make,
Take care.
so, just for my verification, this is only for zoning violations?
Correct. Yes.
Not health department violations or blight or anything,
Just for zoning violations.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, can we rescind the second and the first, please?
I rescind my,
I rescind my second.
I rescind my first.
Thank you. And Madam Clerk, are we going to do 923 at 6:50? Thank you. All right. Moving on to communication H from Mayor Dorinda Boyer regarding an amendment to ordinance blight prevention 129-8, penalties for offenses and enforcement. May I have a motion to approve for discussion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Attorney Jello.
Yeah.
Still there.
Still here.
Just a couple questions
Yeah.
I had, unless you had something that you wanted to say. Nope. Okay, good. I see that this applies to residential and commercial.
Yes.
For 6 or fewer units. What if it's above 6?
I think it just goes off of this. I will get back to you with that in just a minute.
I'm assuming those are treated just differently because there would be an apartment building, perhaps, or some or some other designated structure.
Yes.
But I was just curious. Do we have something in place? For...
I think we have something in place now, actually, for blighted properties that are commercial properties.
So 6
This
plus
is
would
just
be...
Okay.
Okay.
And this is yet the third iteration of what we just did, where the state statute was changed, was amended. We're incorporating the changes at the state level.
And I just want to make sure that I understand the three, basically the 3 strikes and you're out
Yep.
type thing. So, in order to be considered your third offense, it's either one, a repeated offense. So they have an offense, they've been cited, they've cured it, and then it happened again.
Yep.
So that's, and if it does that,
The third offense.
the third time,
Yeah.
okay. The same one, or they're cited for an offense, it's not fixed within 120 days, so that counts. Or it's 3 separate yet simultaneous offenses. That's
Yes.
your third. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Any questions from the committee? Any questions from the council? Councilman Donovan?
This is the one. Correct for the health department and.
Well, I think the health department, I think we took that off. Did we take that off, Paul? Yeah, I believe we took off, which we could amend it if we had to. So at the last page of this particular communication, we were expanding the people that enforce this to include the health department inspector. But I think ultimately we realized that the health department inspector was a statutory position, and we were unable to include them in this enforcement section.
Okay, so this here, the health department wouldn't be able to.
Correct.
Enforce this.
Correct.
That's not in my
Yeah,
copy.
it's not-
This is not in our, yeah, that's why this is not my, how can we get, we can't get them to,
I think it's just
Be
by
able to?
statute. I don't think they're able to, by statute, enforce blight liens. They don't have the authority by
so
statute.
any health department issue, whatever, would fall back under the blight officer?
It would go back, yeah,
Possibly.
zoning enforcement officer
The
or
blight
blight
officer
officer, yeah.
at that point can handle something that the health department
Refers
having
to
a
her.
problem with.
Yeah. So if the health department, Maureen Lillis, refers something to Lori Lopez, who's
Yes.
the zoning enforcement officer, then Lori Lopez can enforce it.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
So my copy still has,
Health department.
right.
Yeah, that should not be there.
Okay.
Because there was another version of it submitted where in the heading also, that last section would take out where it says to allow health department, and then on the last page, E would be taken out also.
I'm sorry, could you tell me the first one?
Sure. So on the first page of communication H, where it says regarding, the last section that says and to allow an officer of the health department to also enforce the blight ordinance, that would come out.
So that should end at determined?
Yep.
Okay.
And then in the last page of that communication, where we include subsection E, health department inspector, that would also come out.
So it'll just end at D.
Yeah, correct.
Everything else can remain?
Yes.
Stacy, can I have a first read on this, or do we need it resubmitted? Or Attorney Dorsey?
Consider it a typographical error corrected and have a first reading. Unless you think it should be published again with the agenda. Yeah, so you haven't published anything yet, so I'd bring it out as a first reading, absolutely. Prior to public hearing.
You all right? Got her in the neck.
Attacking her. Hit Katie.
I'm sorry. The discussion we're having is the amendment. Because it was posted online with those things, I think you should just note that an amendment is being made to it and let them know what the amendment is before Stacy kills somebody.
Okay, so, all right, so just say that we're amending the communication, then I could read it correctly, removing those two
Yes.
items, and that I'll, okay. All right, any other discussion from the council?
Are you holding a public hearing for this then?
Yeah, I'm seeing if there's any discussion.
Oh, okay.
Okay, seeing none, can we rescind the first and the second? Who's on first?
Was I second or first? I was. Okay, I rescind my second.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Madam Clerk, I'm requesting a public hearing on 9/23 at 6:55. Yes. And Attorney Dorsey, could you for the next council meeting on the 23rd, would you be able to give me a clean copy of the corrected amendment? Thank you. Okay. Next up is Communication I from Mayor Dorinda Boer regarding a state Homeland Security Memorandum of Understanding. May I have a motion to approve? May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. And discussion. Is that Attorney Dorsey?
Good evening. So this is a regional agreement which would allow the city of West Haven to participate in a grant project of $475,000 plus, which is available for regional projects proposed by the Regional Emergency Planning Team. There's no cost to the city of West Haven. And this agreement simply will allow us to participate in this group of municipalities, regional group of municipalities.
And what does the what kind of projects or asset purchases do these funds go towards?
Mutual aid, assets between cities, such as communication, things like storm and disaster warnings, that kind of stuff.
Are they tangible assets?
Well, they could be, absolutely, yes.
And would the city own those assets?
The city would probably not have ownership in them, and it's hard. Possibly, if the city got a specific allocation of the grant to the city to own something, but it would still be in, licensed to other municipalities as well that are part of the regional group. But most likely, no.
Okay. I only ask because on page 3 it references that the city is what they consider to be a custodial owner, and was just curious how they define that.
Custodial owner meaning is in our
possession.
Our possession.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, and just to confirm, there's no matching. There's no
No, there is not. There's no financial obligation to the city with
The
respect.
city
to
doesn't
this.
even front the money. It's not reimbursement.
No.
Okay.
Win-win.
Any discussion? Councilwoman Coletti.
Thank you, Chairman. So if the city owns the asset, purchases the asset, or is custodial of the asset, is there any mention of like ongoing maintenance for the asset? Is there cost sharing or anything like that?
There would be cost sharing, but I think it would most likely come out of the grant.
Okay, thank you.
Any discussion from the committee? Discussion from the council? See none. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. And I believe that concludes the business for. Yeah, but I have to do the second read, right? Oh, we have to. Okay. Communication D from July 22nd, 2024 agenda from Mayor Dorinda Boer regarding an amendment to Chapter 191 to adopt and incorporate a new section that will be known as 191-56A of the Code of the City of West Haven, entitled Sewer Connections, Permits, and Fees, Construction Requirements. May I have a motion to approve? And second?
Second.
Any further discussion? We're up for a second read. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. And that concludes the business of legislative matters. Time is 8:35. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman Pascal. The time is now 8:35. The Committee of Personnel and Civil Services is now in session. Present are councilpersons Fargo and Donovan, Councilman Locks and Johnstone, and myself serving as chair. Councilman Locks and Johnstone are absent this evening. We have before us Communication D from Mayor. Communication D from Mayor Dorinda Boer regarding the appointment of Richard Standish of 78 Atwater Street, West Haven, Connecticut 06516, as an alternate member of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Mr. Standish's appointment will be for a term of 2 years, effective immediately, and will expire on August 31st, 2026. Looking for a motion to bring this out.
Motion approved.
Second.
Thank you. Since Mayor Boer is not here to kind of read her reasoning, I'd just like to read a quick paragraph regarding Mr. Standish. Rich is a lifelong resident of West Haven and a 911 dispatcher for the city of West Haven for over 47 years. He was also an active West Shore volunteer utility firefighter. Both of these admirable roles demonstrate his commitment to our community. Rich was also previously a member of the Planning and Zoning Commission, and as such, has considerable knowledge he will bring to the table and serve as a great asset to the commission. Any discussion from committee?
Just since
Councilman
Mr.
Fargo.
Standish is in the audience, I just want to congratulate you again on your retirement, and you picked a great way to spend it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion within committee?
Yep.
Councilman.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Yeah, I've known Mr. Standish for quite a while. He's very dedicated to the work that he does, especially with the EMS system. Doing it for so long, finding something to do after his retirement, getting into back into the planning and zoning, he's going to do the job very, very well. So I'm looking forward to approving this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Donovan. Agreed, and thank you for your service, Mr. Standish. With that, any other discussion? Chairman?
Thank you. I just wanted to say, when it comes to the service to the city of West Haven, I believe that Mr. Standish is beyond reproach. It's been a lifelong quest of his to serve the city of West Haven, and we appreciate that, and we appreciate you doing this. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Chairman. Any other discussion or comments? Okay. With that, all in favor to approve?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion passes. And that concludes the business of your Personnel and Civil Services Committee. The time is now 8:38. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Now we have Public Lands Committee, Councilman Donovan.
Thank you, Chairman. The time is 8:39. Public Lands Committee is in session. Members present are Councilwoman Callahan, Councilwoman Coletti, and myself acting as chair. Councilman Johnstone, Councilman Locks are absent. We have before us Communication C from Mayor Dorinda Boer regarding the donation of a sliver of property owned by West Haven Propco at 310 Terrace Avenue as described in the legal description. I'd like to bring this out favorably. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion from the committee? And I know we're going to have a discussion from the council, but thank you, Mr. Agello, for coming and explaining this to us.
Donovan, how are you?
I'm doing well. All right, so one of the questions obviously would be, why are they giving this to us? With, I believe there's a donation as well, correct?
Yes, and with me, joining me here tonight is Attorney Sarah Sharp. She represents she's the attorney for the donor, landowner. This is from West Haven Propco, which is a company in West Haven that runs a nursing and rehabilitation facility for medical rehabilitation. They cover both short-term and long-term nursing services. They are in the process of refinancing their property through HUD. That's kind of the distinction, is it's through HUD. It's not through private mortgage. Through HUD is a little bit more specific as to what they want to see when they refinance a property. They've identified that this, I got a map for you. I don't know. I assume it was in your stuff. This small corner here is in a floodplain. And because it's in a floodplain, HUD does not want them to have this piece of property. So they are donating this piece of property to the city of West Haven to kind of fix that problem. In addition, they are also donating $10,000 towards a community garden. And they are we are going to get into a hold harmless agreement. So if there is any problems that would stem from this small corner sliver piece of property, the city of West Haven would be held harmless from any responsibility.
You mentioned, though, that they're giving us this property so we can take care of, you mean maintain it and stuff? Or
well, we would maintain it. I think right now it's vacant land. It abuts property that's owned by the city of West Haven that's also vacant land. So it would really just maintain the exact same character it is right now. We have no additional obligation or burden as a result. It's a very small piece of property. But yes, we would basically take responsibility for whatever that means. It would stay the same way.
And
it's
the
administrative.
contract is obviously agreed upon that.
Yeah.
Anything wrong, okay. Because that was my, as you know,
Yes.
my biggest concern when people want to give us property. Yeah, there's usually what's going on.
Yeah.
Not only you want to donate property, you want to give us $10,000 on top of it, which is okay. Really, what's happening? Right?
Well, they do also provide a service to the people of the city of West
100%.
Haven, long-term, short-term care. Everybody
100%.
needs it.
There's no
So
doubt
we
about
want to
it.
kind of encourage and help them.
Absolutely. I was just,
Yeah.
my concern
Which
in
is
the
fair.
beginning was I don't want to grab something then
Oh, yeah.
we have to now are liable to repair.
Right.
So I'm glad that that's gotten worked out. So anybody have any questions? Yes, Councilwoman Callahan.
Thank you, Councilman Donovan. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, welcome. Thanks for coming in. So thank you for the sliver of land and the donation. My concern, though, is, again, the flood part of that. That is good for you because then they can rehab. And, I mean, they could do the refi without that sliver of land. With the way that the rains have been coming and the storms, if that was to flood past that point up into their property, would we still be held harmless, or how would that be defined? Like, say the floods we had a terrible, like, what just happened, and the floodwaters came up. What would define us having to deal with that versus
Well,
the
floodwaters are an act of God, right? So, I mean, if you
Right.
get heavy rains, things like this, it's act of God's. It's kind of nobody's fault.
Right.
So we're not held responsible for that. If there's something that stems from this particular piece of property, we have a hold harmless that basically says we are not responsible for whatever emanates from this small corner of the property.
Okay, so that defines the difference between hold harmless and the flood. So flood is
Yeah.
act of God, and it's just no harm of anyone.
Yeah, it's not the city of West Haven's fault that there's flooding.
Right.
Yeah.
So they would be held accountable to fix whatever damage might occur on their property.
Correct.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you. Anybody else? Councilwoman Tucker.
Not being familiar with the property or the sliver of land that's going to be given to us, are there any homes adjacent to that land that could potentially be impacted that, you know, if there were to be a flood, and would they be able to hold us responsible?
Hi, Sarah Sharp, 135 Broad Street, Milford. For the record, I represent the property owner, as you've heard. There is, it's mostly all surrounded by vacant land, the vacant land owned by the city, and then a vacant sort of rear part of the parcel that is a neighbor. It's vacant, it's wooded, it has its own floodway that goes all through that property. So we won't be, nothing will be changed in the condition of this little 300 square foot sliver. So the only neighbor is this. It's pretty far removed from where the floodway is, but their property currently has a floodway on it. So I don't see any way that this could impact, and as your council has described it being an act of God as a flood, presumably their own homeowners insurance, their flood insurance would cover them. Thank you.
All set. Anyone else on the council? See none? Okay. Yes? No? Oh, I thought you had your hand up. Sorry. All in favor on the committee?
Aye.
Anybody? No? You're good? Everybody's good? All right. With that, this is new to me, Mike. Given property, do I need a public hearing, or we do not need it?
I believe you do need a public hearing because it deals with the transfer of property.
Right?
It deals with the transfer of property.
Okay. So I need, well, transferring property from, that's the first time usually we're transferring it out. We're not transferring it in. Do we need the public hearing for the transferring?
I believe we do.
We still do?
To accept it because it doesn't distinguish which way the transfer is going. They can just use the word transfer.
All right, then I need, whoever seconded, I need to rescind the second. I don't know who was.
Is that on me? I rescind my second.
And initial?
I rescind my first.
All right, and with that, Chairman, I need a request a public hearing on September, no, the next meeting, September the 9th. Yeah. Thank you. I'm not done yet. Okay, with that, your committee on public lands is now closed at 8:46.
Thank you very much. Might as well keep that mic on because you're up for streets
Absolutely.
and squares.
Time is now 8:46. Committee on Streets and Squares is now in session. We have Councilman Vargo, Councilwoman Akbarali, Councilwoman Callahan, and myself acting as chair. We have before us Communication E from Robert Sandella, Acting Commissioner of Public Works, requesting approval to install additional lighting in the area of 284 and 288 Park Street. Do I have a motion to approve this?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion on this? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Your Committee on Streets and Squares is now closed at 8:47. I'm leaving the mic on.
Leaving the mic on for tax deferral, Councilman Donovan.
The time is 8:47, and your Committee on Tax Deferral Committee is now in session. We have, let's see, Councilwoman Heffernan, Councilwoman Coletti, Councilwoman Callahan, and myself acting as chair because Chairman Johnstone is absent. We have before us Communication B from Mayor Dorinda Border regarding a resolution authorizing the city of West Haven to enter into a real property tax incentive agreement with CDM Holdings LLC to support the redevelopment of 183 Beach Street. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Have a second?
Second.
And we got discussion. So,
Sir.
Dorsey, thank you very much. Can
Very
you
welcome.
just go into this a little bit so we all all can understand a little better?
Certainly. So taxes are a creature of statute, and the state of Connecticut kind of tells us how to tax property. And they have passed two statutes. They've been on the books for years and years and years, which allow a municipality to offer tax deferment or tax incentive for new development or rehabilitation. And this particular matter that's before you relies on 12-65B, which allows municipalities and owners or at least lessees of real property to affix tax assessment on such property or airspace for a certain amount of time. In this instance, the statute allows it for 10 years, up to 10 years. So what we're proposing now with the property formerly at Chicks on Beach Street is to allow to enter into a tax incentive agreement with the developer of the property that's going to build a multifunctional facility, mostly restaurant and bar establishment. In the resolution that I prepared, and the city of West Haven has entered into these agreements many times. Maybe by way of comparison, the other statute that I mentioned would allow any applicant that meets the requirements of an area in an area declared as rehabilitation by the city would automatically be entitled to this agreement. So we're not going that far tonight. So you're not setting any precedent by allowing this agreement. This is what we would call a bespoke agreement specifically for this project. And it's not for 10 years, it's for 5 years. And there is in the communication and in the authorizing resolution that was presented to you, it's defined where the property after, by year 5 would be 100% taxable, but it scales up. So the property right now is vacant land. It has a value unimproved. The property starts to be developed. The property value increases, and but the agreement would set that assessment at a certain percentage. Year 1 would be 20%. Then it jumps up to year 2 up to 40%, year 3 to 60%, year 4 80%. Now by year 4, of course, it's operating, it's functioning, it's hopefully profitable, and everything's going well for the business. And then by year 5, we're at 100% assessment. So it favors the developer in the beginning, but once the business is established and up and running, then the city is collecting just about 100% of the assessed value. There's a few things that the resolution that was prepared, and it's also mentioned in the communication, that are very important in these agreements. We don't want the developer or owner to sell after they get the agreement and use it as a bargaining chip to sell their property and make a profit, or change the development that we've approved. So that's number one. And we don't want unreasonable delay, so we're going to write that into the contract. They can't sit on this for 3 years and pay 10% of the assessed value of their property and not complete the project and then sell it. It does not apply to personal property. This is simply the real estate and the development upon the real estate. So we urge approval of this as an encouragement and an inducement for the development that's currently been planned and approved on this location.
Thank you very much for that explanation. I personally am for aiding businesses, if we can, in some kind of a tax abatement to help draw businesses in, especially one like this that will draw in numerous, not only West Haven people, but numerous people from out of town will come in as well. Does anybody else have anything to discuss from the committee? and open that up to the council. Oh, you have some? Yep. Go ahead, Councilwoman Coletti.
Thank you, Chairman. I think you brought up very good points. Also want to just put a favorable note out toward this, that it sends a signal in terms of economic development, that West Haven is open to these discussions to attract new business and attract potential developers of business. And I think it's a very reasonable, moderate foot forward, where it could have been 10 years, where it's only 5. And the step up, it's a freeze of the current assessment for 1 year. And during that period, that's the time it would likely take to construct anyway. Is that right?
Yes, that's the
Okay.
construction period, possibly into the second year.
Right. And yeah, and at the end of the day, it allows them a little surety to investors, that it will turn from a rent. It's much more likely that it will turn from a rendering into an actual establishment. So thank you for the time.
For what it's worth, you did make a point. For what it's worth, this is a modest tax incentive agreement compared to some others. Not saying that this is a modest project, but towns have them for 10 years or more. Not more, actually, a statute limits it to 10 years. But certainly with a much more aggressive deferment or assessment freeze than this one does.
Councilwoman Callahan.
Thank you, Councilman Donovan. Hello again.
Hello.
Again, I'd like to reiterate what Councilman Donovan and Councilwoman Coletti said. I think this is a fantastic step forward. I think it's a great incentive, and it's a very good beginning step on that street for everyone to see that there's going to be development and it's going forward. I think there's been a lot of talk, but no action. And to actually see action now, I think it's going to be incredibly a good incentive for other businesses to come and look now at our area seriously. Never mind our amazing shorefront, but I saw the beginning blueprints and it really looks so gorgeous and so attractive. And I think it's going to be great going forward. I like the 5-year incentive. I know, like you said, it could be 10. My question is, though, also, do you know when they're going to break ground? Is it? I see that the fences are up. Does anybody know they're going to actually just start?
They would have to have to do it soon because the agreement year 1 will start not when the agreement's signed, but when the resolution's passed tonight, or if it's passed.
Oh, good to know. Okay, good.
So there's a built-in incentive for the developer to get going on the project.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
All set.
Anybody else? Councilman Vargo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm 100% in favor of this. I think it sends a strong message that West Haven is willing to work with developers and owners, that we're open for business. But I also think it shows that we work in good faith and expect our business partners to work in good faith, that we're not extending out to 10 years, that this is very reasonable. My only question is, are they allowed to appeal their new assessments to the BAA or to the Superior Court, or does this agreement lock them into whatever the new assessments is?
Okay, so normally in the agreements that I've been involved in the past, we say no to the appeal.
We say no, that they're waiving their rights to appeal.
Waiving the right to appeal. That's not 100% necessary, or it's not required by the statute. So in theory, they could. We're not freezing taxes; we're freezing assessments. So you're right.
Right, but
we're not agreeing on tax dollars. We're saying we're going to assess you at a certain percentage. So it does open a door for a tax assessment if they think their year 3 assessment after the completion of the project is too high. Yeah.
So you said that normally. Do you know if that's going to be built into this agreement, or you still need to negotiate that?
I'm sure going to try.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody else on the council? Yes, Councilwoman Garthwaite.
Thank you. I just want to say I'm very much for this. I don't think the gentlemen need any fires lit under them. They've already proven themselves with the Tides townhomes. 5 years is, like you guys all said, modest, and I'm 100% for it. So
Very good.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Anybody else have any questions or anything? With that being said, everybody in the committee, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passed. I don't need a hearing for that, correct? No hearing. Thank you. Motion passes. With that, your committee on tax deferral is now closed at 8:59.
Thank you very much. We will reconvene to the entire council at also 8:59. Moving on to unfinished business. I do not have an update for the Kerrigan boiler project. I have to reach out on that one. I do have an update regarding Lake Street project. Abdul could not be here with us today, but I do have something written on it. It's an update from a CDM Smith Lake Street outfall update. They did a CCTV camera project. It was completed. They identified some buried structures, which were some storm water manholes. The results were sent to the city with recommended cleaning. Pipe cleaning is ongoing. The city also uncovered buried structures, sewer manholes. Survey started this week. Field work will be completed today. Borings are scheduled for August 29th. I believe that's, the borings are the hydraulic model, and they started the delineation on that. And permitting is in pre-application. They're preparing a pre-application form, and we'll send that to the city next week for review. This info was given to engineering or from CDM Smith on August 23rd. Is there any questions on that? So the borings part, or I can maybe. Abdul was supposed to be here tonight, and I anticipate that he will be here in 2 weeks. I think something came up because it was a last minute thing and a last minute email that I had gotten. All right, on to committee reports. If the clerk would read communication A into the record.
Communication A from the tax collector regarding overpayment refunds for August 2024 will be followed with tonight's minutes.
Thank you very much. On to committee. On to legislative matters, Councilman Vargo.
I'm not ready for this. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to be doing a first read of Communication F, which is a draft amendment to Chapter 199 to adopt and incorporate new Section 199-5 regarding cigarette dealer license and renewals. Each person engaging in or intending to engage in the business of selling cigarettes pursuant to Connecticut General Statutes, Chapter 14.
Councilman Vargo,
yes.
I just interrupt you for
Sure.
a second. Anybody think we will need court counsel for anything else this evening? Can we send them home? Okay. Thank you, gentlemen.
Can I go too?
Councilman Vargo, you have to stay.
So close.
Proceed.
Thank you. Each person engaging in or intending to engage in the business of selling cigarettes pursuant to Connecticut General Statutes, Chapter 14, in the city of West Haven as a dealer, and each person engaging in or intending to engage in the business of selling taxed tobacco products at retail shall secure a dealer's license from the Commissioner of Revenue Services before engaging in such business or continuing to engage therein. Section A. Upon filing an application, an applicant shall, in a form and manner prescribed by the Commissioner of Revenue Services, give notice of such application to the clerk of the city of West Haven. Such notice shall contain the name and residential address of the applicant and the location of the place of business for which such license is to be issued. Upon receipt of such notice, the clerk shall post and maintain such notice on the internet website of the municipality for at least 2 weeks and notify the chief of police of the license renewal. The chief of police may offer comment on the application. B. Not later than the day following the date an applicant provides notice pursuant to subdivision 1 of this subsection, The applicant shall affix a copy of such notice, which shall be maintained in legible condition, upon the outer door of the building wherein such place of business is to be located. If an application is filed for a license for a building that is not yet constructed, the applicant shall, not later than the day following the date an applicant provides notice pursuant to subdivision 1 of this subsection, erect and maintain in a legible condition on the site where the business is to be located a sign that, parentheses A, is not less than 6 feet by 4 feet, B, contains the license applied and the name of the proposed licensee, and C, is clearly visible from the public highway. And I'm requesting that the clerk set a public hearing on this for September 23rd at 6:45. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Moving on to Communication G from Mayor Dorinda Boer regarding an amendment to Chapter 128, Article 2, Section 128-10, Citations and Violations. First read is pursuant to Section 8-12A of the Connecticut General Statutes, violations of the zoning regulations of the City of West Haven shall be punishable by citation. All citations issued by the zoning enforcement officer or his or her agency shall state the violation for which the citation is being issued, the fine imposed for the violation, the time period within which the fine must be paid, and an address for the remittance of the fine. Notice of citations will also include availability of a hearing with respect to said violation. The fine for each violation shall be $150, which is an increase from $100, for each day that such violation continues. Citations shall be issued by the zoning enforcement officer or his or her agent by hand or by delivery to the abode or residence of the person in violation. New section. In addition, all unpaid fines imposed under this section will be a lien on the affected real estate from the date the fine is issued. This lien will take precedence over all other liens filed after July 1, 1997, and encumbrances except taxes. It can be continued, recorded, enforced, and released in the same way as a property tax lien. And Madam Clerk, I'm asking for a public hearing on this for September 23rd at 6:50.
Granted.
Thank you. Communication H from Mayor Dorinda Boer regarding an amendment to Ordinance Blight Prevention 129-8, penalties for offenses and enforcement. Is regarding an amendment to Chapter 129, Section 129-8 of the Code of the City of West Haven to adopt and incorporate changes to 129-8 parentheses 3, 129-8 parentheses B, and 129-8 parentheses B parentheses E to permit the maximum civil penalties allowed by statute to determine how a third or more violations are determined. A. Penalties. 1. Each violation of this chapter shall be considered a separate offense. 2. Each day any violation continues shall constitute a separate offense. 3. Each separate offense under this chapter shall be punishable by a civil penalty as follows. A. Residential or in commercial, 6 or fewer units. Occupied, $150 per day. Vacant, $250 per day. Third or subsequent violation, $1,000 per day. Uppercase B, enforcement. 1. Upon discovery of a violation of this chapter, the enforcement officer shall cause to be given to the owner and occupant of the property written notice of the violation and provide a reasonable opportunity for the owner and occupant to remediate the blighted conditions prior to any enforcement action being taken, except that an enforcement officer may take immediate enforcement action in the case of a violation of a property that is the third or more such blight violation at such property during a 12-month period. For the sole purpose of determining if a violation is the third or more such violation at such property during the prior 12-month period, violation means a violation of any municipal blight regulation for which the municipality has issued a notice of violation and 1. In the determination of such enforcement officer, the conditions creating such violation were previously cured, or 2. 120 days have passed from the notice of violation and the conditions creating such violations have not been cured. A third violation may also be established where 3 or more conditions constituting such violation exist at a property simultaneously. Unless otherwise provided in this chapter, all penalties for violations of this chapter shall be enforced by citation pursuant to Chapter 128 of the Code of the City of West Haven, Enforcement of Ordinances. For purposes of appeal, the Board of Police Commissioners shall act as the Board of Appeals with respect to citations issued pursuant to this chapter. All penalties for violations shall apply to both residential and commercial blight. 2. In addition thereto, the mayor or his designee is authorized to initiate legal proceedings to the Superior Court to enforce any notice, summons, or citation issued pursuant to this chapter, or to seek the immediate correction of the violations, collection of any civil penalties, and the recovery of all costs, including costs of remedial actions, authorized by the court, and a reasonable attorney's fees incurred by the City of West Haven to enforce this chapter. 3. All civil penalties, court costs, costs of remediation, and attorney's fees as ordered by the court shall constitute a lien on the subject premises, provided the owner of said premises has been notified of the violations as herein provided and has made a party to the formal proceedings, and any amounts for said fines, court costs, costs of remedial action, and attorney's fees as may be collected by and paid shall be paid into the city's general fund. 4. The following officers and agents of the city are authorized to enforce the provisions of this chapter. A. Building official or his or her designees. B. All officers of the West Haven Police Department. C. Zoning enforcement officer. And D. Property maintenance inspectors. And Madam Clerk, I am asking for a public hearing on September 23rd at 6:55. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Right? I wasn't listening. To the Honorable City Council of the City of West Haven, your Committee on Legislative Matters, to whom was referred the matter regarding a State Homeland Security Memorandum of Understanding, reports that the committee met on the 26th day of August 2024 to consider said matter. It is the unanimous opinion of the committee that the following motion be presented. Be it resolved that the City Council for the City of West Haven hereby approves and authorizes the City of West Haven to execute a memorandum of agreement regarding a grant program with the Department of Emergency Services and Public Protection, Division of Emergency Management and Homeland Protection, and be it further resolved, Dorinda Boer, as mayor of the City of West Haven, is authorized and directed to execute and deliver any and all documents related to this resolution on behalf of the City of West Haven, and to do and perform all acts and things which she deems to be necessary or appropriate to carry out the terms of such documents, including but not limited to executing and delivering all agreements and documents contemplated by such documents, and I so move.
Thank you. I have a motion to approve a matter regarding a State Homeland Security Memorandum of Understanding. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
I don't have a resolution for this one. To adopt it. For communication D from the last meeting, I don't have a resolution to adopt it.
It's not in front of you in one of the...
Nope. I'll make it up. I have to. Stop smiling. She's. I have to. Oh, sure. Now you're leaving. Yeah, right. Order me a pizza. To the Honorable City Council of the City of West Haven, your Committee on Legislative Matters, to whom was referred the matter regarding an ordinance amending Chapter 191 to adopt and incorporate a new Section 191-56A of the Code of the City of West Haven entitled Sewer Connections, Permit Fees, and Construction Requirements. Reports that the committee met on the 26th day of August 2024 to consider said matter. It is the unanimous opinion of the committee that the following motion be presented. Be it ordained that an amendment to Chapter 191 to adopt and incorporate a new section that will be known as Section 191-56A of the Code of City of West Haven entitled Sewer Connections, Permits, and Fees, Construction Requirements. A. No unauthorized person shall uncover, make any connections with, or opening into, use, alter, repair, or disturb any public sewer or appurtenance thereof. B. Any person proposing a new discharge into the public sewer system or a change in the volume or character of pollutants that are being discharged into the public sewer shall notify the Director of Water Pollution at least 45 days prior to the proposed change or connection. C. Any person proposing to extend the public sewer shall, in addition to the provisions of this section 191-56A, file the plan or design of the same with the Commissioner in accordance with section 22A-416 of the Connecticut General Statutes. No such extension shall be constructed until the plan for the same has been approved by the Commissioner and the WPCC. All sewers privately constructed or repaired shall be installed and or repaired by a qualified contractor who possesses a valid plumbing license grade P-7 or better issued under Chapter 393 of the Connecticut General Statutes as amended. D. A person intending to connect a building drain from his property to the public sewer shall first obtain a permit to discharge from the Director of Water Pollution. The application shall be made on forms provided by the Director of Water Pollution, and it shall be accompanied by a sketch or plan showing the proposed installation in sufficient detail to enable the Director of Water Pollution to determine that the proposed installation meets the requirements of this regulation and other applicable specifications, codes, and laws. The application shall be signed by the owner of the premises to be served or his authorized agent and by a qualified contractor, parentheses C subsection P, who has been chosen to perform the work. Upon approval of the application and plan and payment of the applicable fees as set forth in subsection H below, a permit shall be issued to have the work performed by the stated contractor. In the event that the premises change ownership before the work is completed, or if another contractor is chosen to perform or finish the work, the original permit becomes void and a new permit must be obtained by the new parties in interest. Permits shall be valid for a period not to exceed 60 days and are non-renewable. The fee for the permit shall be $70. E. A connection to the public sewer will be made only after the building's plumbing has been approved by the city building inspector in order to ensure the minimum standards are met for the installation. All plumbing shall be in good working order. No trench containing a building, drain, or connection to the sanitary sewer shall be backfilled until the water pollution director or his designated representative has completed an inspection of the approved the work. The water level in each trench shall be maintained at a level below the sewer connection before a cap is removed and while the connection is being made and until such time it has been inspected, approved, and backfilled. The contractor shall notify the engineering department 48 hours before starting any work authorized under this permit. F. All properties served by the City of West Haven public sewer system shall have on file with the Water Pollution Control Commission a valid sewer discharge permit designating the appropriate fee and capacity allocation for said property. G. Permits to connect to the public sewer may be denied or annulled by the Director of Water Pollution for such cause and at such time as he may deem sufficient. No permit to connect to the public sewer shall be issued unless capacity exists to accommodate the additional discharge. The City of West Haven shall be held harmless as a consequence of said denial or revocation or cause thereof. All other parties in interest shall be deemed to have waived the right to claim damages from the City of West Haven, its agents, servants, or employees on account of such revocation or denial. H. Costs and expenses, capacity reserve fee. 1. All costs and expenses incidental to the installation and connection of the building sewer shall be borne by the owners. A fee for connection of the building sewer shall be charged to the owners for connecting to the public sewer, payable to the City of West Haven, WPC, in accordance with the following schedule. A. Residential, each dwelling unit, $3,500. B. Commercial, industrial, and retail. Flows will be determined using actual flow data, Department of Energy and Environmental Protection data, Department of Public Health data for the particular use or sum of square footage for each building discharging to public sewer multiplied by industry standard constant, parentheses. For further details, please see WPC rules and regulations. Total flow so derived will be divided by 65,000 to determine the number of equivalent units and multiplied by 3,500. In no case will the fee be less than 3,500. C. When the capacity reserve fee charged the owner is greater than 15,000, the owner may apply to the Water Pollution Control Authority to pay said fee in installments. The WPCA shall have the authority to approve an installment payment schedule and may provide for interest payments thereon in accordance with Section 7-253 of the Connecticut General Statutes. When an installment payment plan is agreed upon, the WPCA shall cause the city clerk to record on the land records a certificate of such fact in a form substantially in compliance with the form provided by Section 7-253 of the Connecticut General Statutes. No installment plan shall be approved for amounts less than $15,000. D, all fees shall be due and payable prior to connection to the public sewer or discharge of use unless there shall be in place an approved installment plan. E, all properties served by the public sewer system shall undergo modifications and or a change of use shall apply for new sewer discharge permit and pay the appropriate capacity reserve fee. 2, all fees collected under this section shall be deposited in a separate sewer fund account to be used solely for the construction and rehabilitation of public sewer facilities. I, a separate and independent building drain shall be provided for each premises which requires a certificate of occupancy. Building sewers extending through lands and others shall not be permitted. The City of West Haven's responsibility as to the operation, maintenance, and repair of any portion of the sanitary sewer system shall end at the point where the building sewers connect to the public sewers. J, existing building sewers may be used in connection with new buildings only when they have been tested and passed such testing in accordance with the procedures outlined by the City of West Haven WPCC rules and regulations and are found by the Director of Water Pollution to meet all requirements of this chapter. K, the size, slope, alignment, materials of construction of the building sewer, and the methods to be used in excavating, placing of the pipe, jointing, testing, backfilling, and connection of the building sewer to the public sewer shall all conform to the requirements of the Building and Plumbing Code or other applicable laws, rules, and regulations of the City of West Haven, WPCC, or any local, state, federal government entity having jurisdiction. In the absence of code provisions or an amplification thereof, the materials and procedures set forth in appropriate specifications of the American Society for Testing and Materials and WPCF Manual of Practice number 9 shall apply. L, whenever possible, the building sewer shall be brought to the building at an elevation below the basement floor. In all buildings in which any floor elevation is too low to permit gravity flow to the public sewer, sanitary sewage shall be lifted by an approved means and discharged to the building sewer. Duplex lift systems shall be provided for commercial and industrial buildings. M, no persons shall make or allow connection of roof downspouts, foundation drains, areaway drains, or other sources of surface runoff or groundwater to a building sewer or building drain, which in turn is connected directly or indirectly to the public sewer. N, all excavations for building sewer installation shall be adequately guarded with barricades and lights as to protect the public from hazard. Streets, sidewalks, parkways, and other public property disturbed in the course of work shall be restored in a manner satisfactory to the City of West Haven. O, no building sewer shall be constructed within 25 feet of a water supply well. If a building sewer is constructed within 25 to 75 feet of a water supply well, it shall be constructed in accordance with all applicable guidelines promulgated by the Commissioner. P, all building sewers shall be installed by a qualified contractor who possesses a valid license issued under Chapter 393 of the Connecticut General Statutes as amended. Q, prior to entering into an agreement with any municipality or sewer district for use of the City of West Haven sewer system, the City Council and WPCA shall consider whether the agreement should require that 1, non-jurisdictional users shall pay a proportionate share of operation and maintenance expenditures for the WPCC. 2, non-jurisdictional users shall pay a proportionate share of prior and future capital investments for facilities to be used by non-West Haven users. 3, non-jurisdictional users shall pay the proportionate share for use of prior and future land or asset contributions by the City of West Haven or WPCC. 4, the contracting municipality or sewer district shall maintain environmental pollution liability insurance that names the City of West Haven and WPCC as an additional insured and is sufficient to cover the cost of cleanup and any other liability or damages arising out of a sewage spill related to that municipality's or sewer districts or their representative users' use of the City of West Haven sewer system. 5, an interim review every 5 years of the terms of the agreement to assess whether changes in practices can be conducted by professional staff for each municipality or sewer district to improve the contractual relationship and to assess the need for midterm amendments to the agreement. And 6, such other factors as the City Council and WPCC deem appropriate. And so help me God, I so move.
Okay, I have a motion to approve a matter regarding an amendment to Chapter 191 of the Code of the City of West Haven, newly entitled Sewer Connections, Permit Fees, Construction Requirements. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
I fell asleep twice.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
I think I'm done.
You're done.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Moving on to Personnel and Civil Service, Councilwoman Coletti.
Thank you,
Please keep
Chairman.
it brief.
Thank you. I will try, certainly. To the Honorable City Council of the City of West Haven, your Committee on Personnel and Civil Service, to whom is referred the matter of the appointment of Richard Standish of 78 Atwater Street in West Haven, Connecticut, 06516, to the Planning and Zoning Commission, reports that the committee met on the 26th day of August 2024 to consider said matter. It is the unanimous opinion of the committee that the following motion be presented. Resolved, the City Council of the City of West Haven hereby approves the appointment of Richard Standish of 78 Atwater Street, West Haven, Connecticut, 06516, as an alternate member to the Planning and Zoning Commission. Mr. Standish's appointment will be for a term of 2 years, effective immediately, and will expire on August 31st, 2026, and I so move.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a motion to approve a matter regarding an appointment of the ever-patient Richard Standish as an alternate member to the Planning and Zoning Commission. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
Congratulations.
All set. All right, moving on to the Gary Donovan Show. First up, we have Public Lands.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm going to try and stretch mine a little because I feel bad for Chris. We have before us Communication C from Mayor Dorinda Boer regarding the donation of a sliver of property owned by West Haven Propco at 310 Terrace Avenue. The sliver parcel is the corner lot that abuts property owned by the City of West Haven and is in a flood zone, which prevents Propco from refinancing and improving their business model. Solution to this problem is to convey the sliver parcel to the city along with the hold harmless agreement protecting the city and the $10,000 donation to be applied towards creating a community garden. We are requesting a public hearing on September 9th, 2024 at 6:55.
What's that?
Sorry it wasn't as long, but so moved with that one.
Okay, moving on to Streets and Squares. Are we ready? All right. Wait. Yes, that's correct. Yes? Yep. Okay. Moving on to Streets and Squares? Oh, yeah. Yes. Or do we have to, there's no first reading for this. No. Right. It's not an ordinance, so
Which
yeah.
one? Street sign?
No.
No,
The sliver of
sliver of
property.
property.
Just a public hearing. on
Yeah,
it.
just a public hearing for people to have their say. Okay. So moving on to Streets and Squares, Chairman Donovan.
Thank you. We have before us Communication E. The Honorable City Council of the City of West Haven, your Committee on Streets and Squares, to whom was referred the matter of the request from Robert Sandella, Acting Commissioner of Public Works, requesting approval to install additional lighting in the area of 284 and 288 Park Street. Reports that the committee met on the 26th day of August 2024 to consider said matter. It is the unanimous opinion of the committee that the following motion be presented. Resolved, the City Council of the City of West Haven hereby approves the request from Robert Sandella, Acting Commissioner of Public Works, requesting approval to install additional lighting in the area of 284 and 288 Park Street. So moved.
Thank you. I have a motion to approve a matter regarding the installation of additional lighting in the area of 284 and 288 Park Street. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you very much. Discussion? I'm not sure. This came in via email, and we had. I'm not familiar with that.
Councilwoman Heffernan, I believe that was the one Peabody over there. Oh, I don't remember that.
That one was for by Third Avenue Park. Third Avenue Park.
Oh, that's right.
Now I remember. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? One abstain. Motion carries. Seeing streets and squares is done, we will move on to tax deferral.
Thank you very much, Chairman. We have before us Communication B to the Honorable City Council of the City of West Haven. Your Committee on Tax Deferrals, to whom was referred the matter of a resolution authorizing the City of West Haven to enter into real property tax incentive agreement with CDM Holdings, LLC, to support the redevelopment of 183 Beach Street. Reports that the committee met on the 26th day of August 2024 to consider said matter. It is unanimous opinion of the committee that the following motion be presented. Whereas the City of West Haven wishes to encourage industrial, commercial redevelopment, promote real property grand list growth, expand local job opportunities, stimulate economy activity for the benefit of the residents of the City of West Haven, and whereas to support such efforts, the state of Connecticut, under Connecticut General Statute, Section 12-65B, authorizes municipalities to enter into real property tax incentive agreements that defer real property taxes on improvements made by property owners who redevelop eligible properties, and whereas the proposed tax incentive agreement will support the redevelopment of 183 Beach Street, West Haven, Connecticut, into a multi-amenity restaurant destination. Therefore, be it resolved that the City Council of the City of West Haven hereby approves and authorizes the city to enter into real property tax incentive agreement with CDM Holdings, LLC, which will freeze the real properties based assessed value for 1 year from the date that the council approves this authorization resolution. Therefore, the property's assessment based on the improvements that the CDM Holdings LLC makes thereon will be phased in over the following 5 years, according to the following schedule. Year 1, 20% of the increased real property tax assessment. Year 2, 40%. Year 3, 60%. Year 4, 80%. And year 5, 100% of the increased real property tax assessment. Be it further resolved that the agreement shall become null and void should CDM Holdings LLC sell the property within the phase-in period upon delinquency in the payment of real estate taxes due and upon unreasonable delay in the completion of the planned improvements. This agreement will apply to real property only and shall not affect the assessment of personal property. Be it further resolved that the Dorinda Board, as the mayor of West Haven, the mayor of the City of West Haven, is authorized and directed to execute and deliver any and all documents related to this resolution on behalf of the City of West Haven, and to do and perform all acts and things which she deems to be necessary or appropriate to carry out the terms of such documents, including but not limited to executing and delivering all agreements and documents. I so move.
Thank you. I have a motion to approve a matter regarding a resolution authorizing the City of West Haven to enter into a real property tax incentive agreement with CDM Holdings LLC to support the redevelopment of 183 Beach Street. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? I'd just like to say I've seen this used on mixed use before, and I like the fact that we are actually using this tool for something that is that the public can enjoy specifically, instead of aiding and renting out apartments or something of that nature. And as Councilwoman Coletti said before, this is a tool that we can use further, and I hope we do, to gain those exciting things that the people of West Haven hopefully will come to enjoy sooner rather than later. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Is that it for you, Mr. Donovan?
That is it. Sorry.
All right. We have
I don't plan to.
action on ordinances previously presented. We have none. Do we have any liaison reports for this evening? Councilwoman Coletti?
Just extremely quickly on the economic development front. So the ARPA grants for small business. have all been submitted and reviewed internally, and Olivia did a great job leading that effort. And they've all been submitted for further review for ARPA compliance. And I believe there were just under 40 applications for those funds. That's it for me.
Any other liaison reports?
I do have one.
Councilwoman Heffernan?
I know there was a person that was interested in the Allentown Library, and there has been progress made, so we're hoping to make an announcement soon.
Thank you. Once again, liaison reports. My favorite part, new business. Anybody have any new business? Councilman Donovan.
Yeah, the new business just came. I think we all received this big envelope in a thing. I was just wonder if that's something we should look at and maybe talk to the traffic division or something about that, or even the mayor, just to see what this type of program is and what it's about. Supposedly, it's no cost to the city or the taxpayers whatsoever. Just something to look at. Again, I'm not sure, exactly what the whole thing is. We all got it in the mail, and it was on our desk.
Yeah, when we got here.
Maybe have them come, and talk to somebody.
Okay.
Just bring it out there. But
We'll send a communication
that's all.
over. Any other new business? Councilwoman Callahan?
Just to let everybody know, I don't know if anybody has time tomorrow, but on the border, the West Haven Community House is doing a fundraiser all day and night to Go Food. 20% goes towards donations, goes towards the community house on the border.
What day was that again?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow, and what times?
All day and night.
All day and night.
Yeah, to goes, whatever.
Perfect.
On the border, near Christmas tree shop? The West Haven Community House? Mm-hmm. I put the flyer on, I sent an email, I think, with the flyer to everyone. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other new business? Councilwoman Garthwaite?
I just want to thank the ladies from Justice for Arroyo. My mom is a domestic violence survivor. I'm not going to cry. I was a child, and my father was abusing my mother, and my brother and I witnessed that. And I asked my mom, is it okay if I say that to the ladies? Because I want them to know it's not just one race, one ethnicity. It's all, My mom survived. She was lucky. So, and I have all those memories still in my head, and I replay them constantly. So I want to thank you for taking the time and coming here religiously to speak to all of us. So thank you. I also would like to be their personal liaison. I think it's time they had a voice in the council. I'm asking all of you to let me be that, so that these ladies don't have to come and speak any longer. They can speak to me, and I will speak directly to the entire council.
Is that something you want to entertain? Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Set that up.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Thank you again.
Any other new business? I just wanted to bring up that point brought about the UI, because it is a hot topic. You see it on the internet constantly. And, I would like something sent to the administration just to see if, like was said, any of the contacts that Dorinda has in the state, if she can get a better handle on that. I mean, I know there's a lot of information going around about these Pura increases. I'd like to know more about what they're for, and if there any relief can be given to the citizens of West Haven, because it is a big increase. I'm not sure what we can do about it, but at least if we're more informed, maybe with all 13 of us, we can come to some conclusion as to if we wanted to send a letter or something in support, if that's okay with you guys.
115th district is actually working on that quite hard, talking
Fantastic.
to the speaker, Speaker Ritter, and really trying to, get relief for our citizens, for the citizens of Connecticut, really.
Could you ask him to send us an email on anything that he's involved in?
I can. I didn't,
All right.
but I can.
Perfect.
All right.
All right,
Mr.
thank
Chairman?
you. Yes, sir.
It's my understanding that that fee is a percentage of the usage fee for the customer.
Mhm.
So I'm just curious if we could also try to figure out what impact that has to the city.
Mhm.
Because the city is a customer. So do
Absolutely.
we pay? Do we have to pay that fee as a city for all of our electrical expenses, and what impact does that have on our budget?
It's a good question. I don't know the answer to that.
The portion that is, I believe it's, they're all saying, oh, I don't want to pay someone's bill that hasn't paid their bill. That is a portion of it, but if you look at it, the highest portion is about Millstone, the Millstone plant, and other states are also paying the portion of that as well. But when natural gas prices, this is what I was told. I'm not an expert on this, but when natural gas prices go down and it becomes cheaper to use natural gas, the Millstone prices go up, and we are paying for Millstone, the power plant, the nuclear power plant in Connecticut. We are subsidizing that. Is what I was told.
Okay. Councilwoman Tucker, and then.
Yep. So I just want to follow up with the ladies as well. And on several occasions, I've spoken to the mayor after you've come and that you've spoken. And she's, obviously a very strong advocate for women's rights. She served at the state level and has many initiatives behind her. And we've spoken about what could be done here in West Haven as well. So I don't want you to feel like you come here and you speak and it's falling on deaf ears. It's not. It seems that the things that you may be expecting from the council are not really things that we can do. But to your question that you asked today, what can you do? I just want you to know that we hear you and that there are things that are in the works and that we're looking at, okay? And I know that Melly is volunteered to be the advocate, but we're all, here, and we all want to support, but just don't necessarily know what and how to do it. But we will, and you don't have to feel like you're being ignored. You're not. Okay. All right.
Councilwoman Callahan.
Yeah, just one other thing, but to bounce off of both of the ladies here on the council too, it does not fall on deaf ears. And as our chairman has said, we're really not allowed to elaborate on it. So it is just as frustrating for us sometimes as it is, to hear it from your side too. But besides that and the other things that are going on, I did have in my neighborhood this weekend, 8 police cars for a domestic. So it is all around us, and it is very well aware, and we are all very much trying to do what we possibly can in these situations. But also, if everyone could keep in their prayers, everyone in Oxford and Seymour, there were 2 people that I know that passed. And one was a very dear friend's sister. So life is short, as we all know. So be kind, be nice, and if you in any way can make donations, there are many things going on around right now. Food, clothes, the churches around there, whatever people could do and keep them in your prayers. And then another friend of mine, his mom has 2 feet of mud throughout her whole house and every window was blown out. So that's why I ask about the floods, because water is no joke. And the worse that the storms get, it really is a serious thing, especially being on the shoreline, that we have to think about. So if you can keep them in your prayers, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Any other new business? Councilman Vargo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to amplify quickly what Councilwoman Tucker said. What you are saying to us, we are not ignoring. I'll only speak for myself. Part of my frustration too is I know you're frustrated that you're not seeing action. I'm not really clear what the city council can do. We control the purse strings to the city. We can pass ordinances. We can pass resolutions. But I sometimes feel that when you come to the podium, you are looking for us to come up with some ideas. And frankly, for me specifically, I don't know what the solution is. If you have suggestions, please email me. Our email addresses are all on the city website. So email one of us, email all of us with some recommendations. Contact Councilwoman Garthwaite, and she could filter those. If you have ideas of what this body can actually do to help out, I'm sure that we will entertain it, and see what we could do for you and for what your mission is. But, I think we're struggling as a group of what exactly our role in all this is, because you're touching upon the police department, the police commissioner, the mayor's office, and the legislative branch. So there's a lot of moving parts, but we can only do certain things. Thank you.
Councilwoman Tucker?
And I just want to acknowledge the person in the back row who came and spoke about her home being damaged. And I just want you to know I sympathize with you, because I grew up across the street from a pigeon coop as a child, and it was horrible, right? They were homing pigeons that lived in a pigeon coop across the street from our home for years while I was, when I was a kid, until it was, torn down. And, they're disgusting, and filthy. And so I just want you to know that I sympathize with you as well. And I know that you're in a different district, but I just want to acknowledge that. And I hear you. It's horrible.
Any other new business? All right. Before we conclude, I'd just like to say happy birthday to Councilman McMillan. Mackey, happy birthday. And I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion approved. We're now adjourned. The time is 9:45.